All right, I'm going to turn this over to Bill.
All righty, thank you everybody for signing on. Tony, if you'll mute everybody, we will go through a PowerPoint here and then open it up for questions, any questions that you have. We really don't need to stare at this slide, Scarlett. We can move on.
I agree.
It says past international president. However, Harold in a recent email said former past international president. So apparently he's booting me out as a past international president. Okay. Our governance documents of Civitan International include the Articles of Incorporation, which creates the organization and includes the name and location and officer location and purpose of the organization. The bylaws are actually how the organization operates, has major guidelines, how we work to stay relevant. Our international policies then are more detailed guidelines that with further explanation of the bylaws and can be changed quickly. The bylaws are generally reviewed regularly and revised as needed, but understand that we have not had any major changes to the bylaws since 2004. And there's been a lot that has changed in the past 15 years. So go to the next slide. Okay. There was an ad hoc committee that was appointed that started in October of 2019, looking at our articles of incorporation and our bylaws. When they started looking at this, found that we were out of compliance with Alabama nonprofit laws. And so it was determined that a full rewrite was necessary. Again, since there hadn't been any, there's been amendments over the years, but no major changes since 2004 to the bylaws. Now, in January 2020, the committee was expanded. And since that time, we've met more than 20 times in the last year. And most of those Zoom calls were 2 hours in length. So we put in a lot of hours on this rewrite of the Articles of Incorporation and bylaws. The new Articles of Incorporation were approved by the International Board in July of 2020. In October of 2020, the board approved the concept of the bylaws. And then in between that meeting and November, we went back to the attorney and made a few changes and cleaned a few things up. And then the board officially approved the new bylaws in November 2020, and that the new Articles of Incorporation and bylaws will be presented at the International Convention this summer for ratification. Okay, there were certain things that we were looking at when we were making these changes. Number one, of course, we were looking to make sure that we were in compliance with the law, with our governance documents. We were also looking to see what we need to modernize or streamline our operations, and then what changes could benefit the organization overall. I can tell you that in serving on this committee and then the past few years of serving on the Finance and Audit Committee, many of the things that we looked at and have recommended to the board to make changes has been done with the idea that we need to look for things that's most beneficial to the organization, so that we can ensure that the organization is around for another 10, 20 years or longer, hopefully longer. You can see here the members of the committee, several past international presidents, past directors, and then also you have existing board members in Patsy Perkel and Frank Kelly. Okay, as we attacked these, we found that we had lots of opportunities and challenges as we went through it. Okay. Membership. I'm not telling you anything that you guys don't already know, that for the past 2 decades, overall membership has decreased. North American membership loss has averaged 5% a year. All but 2 North American districts have seen double-digit percentage in decreases over the last 7 years. And our membership outside of North America is under 5,000. I'll give you, of course, an example. In 2012, when I was international president, the Heartland District had 1,324 members. At the end of 2019, we had 862. In 2020, 677. So, and that's indicative of many of the districts around the organization. Okay, you can move on to the next one. Leadership. Another issue that we have found that we've had over the past number of years is finding leadership. 61% of our governors this year have served in the role before. There are 8 of the 23 North American districts do not currently have a governor-elect, which Heartland's in that position right now too. And there are some of these districts that they have a governor-elect, but that governor-elect has really no intention of actually serving as governor. They're just sitting in right now. There's districts in North America that are on probation, violation of districts in good standing, and 15% of our club officer roles in North America are vacant. Okay. Mission and culture. There are other service organizations that are kind of in the same boat that we are, and they are making radical changes due to social and generational shifts. Generational issues have made recruiting much more complicated. And of course, what we're going through right now with COVID has also made it much more difficult to recruit. But one of the things that we really look strongly at is the fact that the traditional club is not as relevant as it used to be. It's very hard to start a club that's under the old traditional, where it meets on a weekly basis or a semi-weekly basis. And the pandemic, one plus is it has shown us the use of technology is necessary. And we've gotten all really used to Zoom this year, or this past year. Okay. Articles of incorporation. That's the first thing that we tackled, because there was not a lot of changes in the articles of incorporation, but there were some changes that needed to be made so that we were able to be brought into compliance with Alabama nonprofit laws. So the changes in the articles of incorporation elaborates information on our 501c3 status, adds indemnification information, adds some language about director removal guidance, and conflict of interest verbiage that we've added. Okay. The bylaws, that's where there's some major changes that we're making, and that the new bylaws that have been approved by the International Board and be brought to the convention floor this year, there's quite a few changes to that. We'll go through some of the major changes to that. Okay. Classes of membership. We've changed this a little bit so that we can expand the possibilities of how membership looks. Again, like I said, the old traditional type club is a little harder to start in these times. We're looking at different ways of having members, of having clubs, and the way the bylaws read, it did not give us the opportunity to try different things as far as membership. Okay. Convention. We are adding verbiage to allow virtual events or a combination of in-person and virtual. Unique times like this year and then low attendance is part of the reason why we're making these changes. Voting rights. Each member registered and attending the convention will get to vote at the convention. This is a big change, which I think members will like, right? You know, in our existing bylaws, you look at the number of members you have in your club and then decide how many voting delegates that you have at the convention. In this change, every member who's a member of a club in good standing and pays their registration fee at the convention will be allowed to vote. Okay. Okay, this is again a very major change, is we're changing to a regional focus, which means the districts are taken out of the document and the region section is changed to include verbiage similar to what the district verbiage was. Reason behind this is low membership, leadership issues, and right now the districts are not really fulfilling the mission, and it's basically we're taking out an administrative level of the organization, which will reduce costs and hopefully streamline the organization for the future. International division, this puts all areas outside of North America in one group. So you have Asia and Africa and Europe, they will all be in one division. Okay. Another major changes is board makeup. It sets a number at 10 people without ex officio members. There'll be one region international director from each region and one from the international division. This decreases the numbers of seats on the international board, which is, again, since 2012, the membership drop, we don't really need that many board members on the board. Board elections will happen at the convention. If you don't realize this, the European director right now is not elected at the convention. They elect their international director in Europe and then send them to the international board. Same with Canada. They elect their director up there and then send them to the international board. So this will eliminate that. All international directors from the regions and from the international division will be elected at the convention. Board vacancies. In the past, the presidents fill the vacancy on the seats. We're changing this so the full board makes that decision to replace a vacant seat. Okay. Making a change on the EVP title. The EVP title is an outdated title. So most organizations are using the CEO title. So we will be making that change for a Chief Executive Officer. So Scarlett, instead of being an EVP, she'll be Chief Executive Officer. Also creating, not creating, we've already had a treasurer, but in the past, the EVP has served as both the secretary and the treasurer of the organization. So we're opening up the treasurer position to a volunteer position. So the volunteer will be the treasurer instead of the EVP. Minimum dues per club increased to 180 from 150. And this just means that it equates to 10 members per club. Another major change is cost of living increase. It allows the possibility for a limited increase of dues based on the CPIU without member ratification. This allows the board, instead of making a large dues increase and taking it to the convention, they can make small increases based on the CPIU. And there's a cap on that of 2%. So in the last 10, 12 years, the CPIU over the years has been somewhere in the area of 1.2%, 1.3%, somewhere in that general area. Now, this doesn't mean that the board will make this increase every year. It just allows them that if they need to have an increase, they can use the CPIU index and make an increase of the dues. With the elimination of the districts, district dues goes away, but there will be a small administration fee for each region. This will help the region director fund their duties as international director. Right now, the district dues cannot be more than 50% of the international dues. And with this change, the region dues can be no more than 25% of international dues. So again, most of your districts are going to have or most of your clubs are going to have a decrease in dues. Articles 11 to 15, this were just some minor changes, some verbiage added for indemnification to protect the board officers if any decisions are questioned. Amendments to the bylaws, membership must ratify any amendments to the bylaws, and they're not effective until the membership has approved it. Okay, all the information, or a lot of the information about these changes can be found at this website. This website shows the actual articles of incorporation that will be presented in Jacksonville. It also shows the updated bylaws that will be presented in Jacksonville. It has frequently asked questions, and it gives some more detail about why these changes are being made. Okay, we can open it up to questions, and again, I guess, raise your hand or put in the chat box or something if you have questions concerning these changes.
This is Dale. I had a question. This all makes perfect sense to me, but what happens if at the international convention is not approved by the membership? What does international plan to do at that point? Is it going to be voted on in stages, or just everything we saw today, yes or no, that type of thing? Can you shed any light on that?
Okay, good question, Dale. It will come to the convention as a whole document to be either voted up or down, yes or no. We feel that these changes are necessary for the survival of our organization, if the convention votes them down, there are additional avenues that the international board can take to facilitate some of these changes. And for example, I mean, like I say, we are, with the change of these bylaws, it does eliminate a level with the districts. If it's not approved, understand that currently in the bylaws, I'm reading this, currently in the bylaws as far as districts, for the purpose of more efficient administration, the board of directors shall create districts comprised of civitan clubs and shall establish the boundaries thereof. So probably what the international board, the route that they would go if this is voted down is merging districts further than what we have in the past. So we're, in looking at the different regions, we're trying to get more representation as far as around 2,000 members in a region. And again, right now, if you look at Heartland and Great Southwest, we're nowhere near that. So what the international board could do is say, okay, Cardinal District, Heartland District, Great Southwest District, Heart of the West District, California District, you will all merge together as one district.
Okay.
So that's
And
that's
I
one
guess
thing
my
that
next,
could be.
okay, and
Go
I
ahead.
guess my next question would be then, as far as the regions go, how will the regions be divided by, like, about how many clubs or how many members in a region, since there will be no more districts?
Well, the committee actually gave the international board a couple of samples of how it could be divided up. Eventually it's going to be up to the international board of exactly how that is divided up. Now, understand what I just said, that we're trying to get better representation on the region level to the international board. So again, all the Western United States could come up to about 2,000 members, whereas the state of North Carolina alone is 2,000 members. So you're going to have some large regions because of the numbers. But again, as we've learned over this past year, using Zoom and everything, I don't think the geographical area is going to be a deterrence, because we can have meetings over Zoom like we're doing that right now.
Bill, to follow up on that, one of the concerns that has been expressed is the fact that the Canadian clubs are included with the US clubs in this proposed regional structure. And so were there any Canadians on your committee? I don't believe there was, were there?
No, there weren't. But again, look at the numbers. You have about, I mean, between 500 and 600. Okay, here's your Canadian clubs. You got 467 in Canadian East, 162 in Canadian West. Meant they're Northern Lights too. I don't know. Anyway, so I mean, you're looking 500 to 600 members in Canada, and they got a seat on the board. And you've got North Carolina with 2,000 members, and they're a member of other districts are in their region, so it's not really equally represented.
Hey, and Bill, can I make a mention that, we have heard some feedback that there wasn't a Canadian on that committee, nor was there a European. And the honest truth is, when an ad hoc committee is approved, the international board has to basically approve the members. So that committee has been approved virtually twice. And with a Canadian on the board and a European on the board, no action was taken, I guess, to ensure that there were other people on the board outside of the United States, on that committee outside the United States. So, had there been an issue then, we would have loved to have heard it, I guess, Harold, is what I'm saying. I know we've heard that feedback a little bit, but that's what happens with the committee. Is the board at any time when a committee is proposed to them can reject the members of that committee and suggest new ones, and that did not happen.
And Harold, this is Frank. I'd just like to share also that earlier Bill shared that the board has seen this twice, and they've had opportunities to speak to the chair of the committee, as well as having access to the committee members to ask any questions or get any of the information clarified. And so they have that opportunity. But I also want to point out that when this is ratified by the membership, every member of the board is going to have equal participation to see and to determine what the next steps are going to be. So there will be a unified voice as to our next steps once we clear the ratification process.
Good point, Frank. Other questions?
Well, I think my concern is, what the reason for raising the question is, there's some difference in laws. Of course, there's different in laws in different states too, but it's just the difference in the Canadian laws and the US laws. And I didn't know whether that would create a problem or not. That's the only reason I raised the question.
I mean, it was talked about in the committee and when we presented to the board, and I don't see it as a deterrence.
This is Dale. I had another question. Assuming, and I assume this probably will be approved at the International Convention, will there be a process for us at the club level to roll this out to the members and explain to them how the organization is changing above them? Maybe it may even be simpler than what we saw, although this was very easy to understand. But I think you all realize a lot of club members, at least in Broken Arrow, they've never been to the International Convention. They don't even know how the district runs, let alone international. So I don't know that they would care that much, but still, I think they should be educated,
We are rolling out a number of these type of Zoom meetings, town hall meetings, beginning next week. The end of this week, we're having a second one of these with the past international presidents. Next week, there will be 2 town halls, one that will be directed towards district leadership, one directed towards club presidents. And then the following week, there'll be 2 more, again, one for district leadership and one for club members or club presidents. So we plan to do a number of these types of town hall meetings so that we can answer a lot of the questions, so that we can go to the convention prepared and people understand what's happening before they get to the convention.
And Bill, this is Patsy. And we started this ad hoc committee during my year, and I want every Civitan to really be comfortable with what we're proposing to the general membership. And these changes definitely are past due. And as the president of last year, I really listened to my board. I listened to this ad hoc committee, which was made up of a lot of leaders. Now, I will say, it will be up to the individuals to attend these town hall meetings. It will be up to us as Civitans to get that message out there. We want everybody to hear this. We're not ramming something down anyone's throat. We are simply putting together the inevitable. If this doesn't occur, something else will take its place. And we want Civitan to be viable and thriving. And when everybody joined Civitan, we joined a club first. We really did. The club is the key. And I say the club is more important, quote, than a district. The district was put there as a guide for us to have those leaders. And when we don't have the leaders stepping up like we have in the past, it's really, really hard to run an organization, a nonprofit such as Civitan. And so this ad hoc committee really, really, like Bill said, hours and hours and hours were spent back and forth, what would be best. And Dale, in regards to what the regions are going to look like, that's still something we're working out. That's still something that's not set in stone yet, but we want it to be equal across the board. So we don't have more in one area than we do in another. And I think it's going to give an opportunity to Civitans overall to step up and say, oh, okay, we're in a region now. Well, maybe I could step up in a position, whatever that might be. It's giving more of an opportunity to our members. So I just wanted to throw that out.
And I might add to that is that the fact that, okay, with this change, if when these are approved in Jacksonville, this does not go into effect October 1st of this year. There will be a transition year, the next Civitan year. So it would not go in effect till October 1st, 2022.
Bill, having said that, in essence, then we would need a governor for one more year for the district, which that governor's role may be somewhat different than typically what you think as the governor, because that governor is more or less just kind of going to help wrap up details as how to dissolve the district and that sort of thing, if I understand correctly.
Yes, that's correct, Harold. There would be the need for a district governor next year following you, and they would be working together with the region director and Civitan International to transition the district down. And I might also say, I mean, there's a lot of more information on that website. As a district would dissolve, there's monies left over. The district will have multiple options that will be offered by Civitan International to disperse of those money. I mean, they could, send the monies back to the individual clubs. They could send it to International for Light the Way. They could send it to International for, the research center. They could create a foundation. There's a number of different options that will be available to districts in dissolving their district.
Well, this is Dale. Would you not also have to, I assume the regions will have probably their own budget. So wouldn't that money kind of go up to the region, the regional level maybe? Is that another option, I guess I'm asking?
Well, the region fee will go into Civitan International and be a part of the budget of the international director for that region. So we're not going to create we're eliminating a whole administrative level with the district. We're not going to create another administrative level at the region level. So, the region may have virtual meetings. They may have virtual projects, but they will not have to have a budget to operate like a district.
Okay.
This is Ann Livingston.
Uh-huh.
This-
You just muted yourself, Ann.
Sorry, this is Ann Livingston. First of all, I want to commend all the committee members that met tirelessly over this past year and developed this program and these bylaws. One thing I noticed though is there's nothing on there about digital like Instagram and things of that nature to advertise Civitans. There's no funds available, of course, and I understand that we don't have funds, but there ought to be some allowance for advertising. And that may come after all of the bylaws. I understand that too, but it just seems like we need to get more in the digital realm.
Well, yes, that's something that is going to be something that the International Board is going to have to work on as we develop this. Certainly with the regions having a little bit increased budget, they can use that. Regions may need to have Zoom accounts. Yes, we need to get the word out. The thing is we really need to look to the future with this organization of exactly how we're going to look in 10 years, because our world is changing, and we need to get up with the electronic age and determine exactly how best to formulate clubs and members and keep this organization viable.
But you're not going to look anyway or anyhow if you don't start advertising or doing something to at least get people in. You're not going to know how you're going to look if you don't have any people.
And isn't that the responsibility of the local club more so than international?
Okay, so then our little club should raise funds to advertise on television?
Well, I'm just saying that if the local club needs publicity and if that's what it takes, fine. But what I'm saying is, if you just advertise something on international wise on a national TV, you're
Well,
not
I've seen
be able to have
commercials.
that promoted directly to your individual club, and it's your club that needs to be building.
I know, but I've actually seen international commercials on television like years ago. And I'm wondering why they don't do that.
Money.
This is Dale. I had another question, and this may be for Scarlett. But do you know, because I know you said in your PowerPoint that other organizations are going through the same growth pains that we are. Are they, example, like Rotary and some of the other large ones, are they kind of doing the same thing we're doing? Are we setting the bar and you think they may follow us?
We actually have a slide for that, don't we, Scarlett?
We do. So, Dale, this should help answer your questions. I get the privilege of attending a service club leaders conference every fall as the staff representative for Civitan International. I get to talk to my equals and to the top volunteer leaders at all these organizations. And so you'll see on this chart some of the things that are happening in a few of them. Sertoma has done something very similar to what we're doing. And they've introduced their first associate member kind of class. Ruritan is looking at their bylaws. They've actually, they want to restructure their organization. They're not there yet. they've reformed their convention. And then Optimist has their world headquarters up for sale. And they are looking at organizational structure, even the possibility of allowing clubs to opt out of districts. They've added a COLA, cost of living increase. And then Kiwanis has restructured their international convention. Now, I was just on a call with them back in December, and we all talked about just how all these changes were already happening, and then the pandemic happened. And so it's forcing some of these changes in a quicker fashion. So, I'm not, we all know that, it's harder and harder to make people aware of the opportunity of joining a service club and the value and the benefits of that. And especially with some of the generational things that have been going on and will continue to go on, it's harder to recruit. And so all of these organizations are finding membership declines. In fact, Sora Optimist, which is specifically a service organization for women, had a 17% membership decline in the last year. And they were declining even before COVID, and COVID's really affected them. So we're all just sort of trying to figure out what's next in our futures, Dale. And to answer Ann a little earlier, I can imagine a lot of this proposal is about opportunity. And I can imagine a world where, like Bill said, some of the regional budgets are used for some PR campaigns that are strategic, that are consistent across the board. The same materials are used in Idaho that are used in Virginia. To a point, of course, you would want to customize some of them, but the same consistent message is promoted about Civitan nationally, and coordinated through those regions and through those regional budgets. And, you could say that could be done now, but there's so many hands. So we, I think there's a better possibility for coordination and for, staff to work alongside the international director or even the communications chair for that region to get that accomplished. And all of those communications chairs working together from each region to get those PR awareness campaigns online or on air or in print. I think there's a lot of potential here. So leave it. I hope I answered your question, Dale, and I hope I added to the answers for Ann.
One of the things that rallies people together is purpose.
Just muted, Ann. Ann, you're muted.
Sorry. One of the things that gathers people together is the reason of purpose. And one of the things that's going on throughout this country that I think would be a good purpose for Civitan is to somehow raise funds to help police train to deal with people that have disabilities. And that, and that would be helpful in each of our communities. And I can see people, really liking that purpose or that reason. And that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you, Ann.
I think Sam had a question, Bill.
Okay. Sam? So we got a question?
Sam, you need
Yes.
to unmute yourself.
Yes, thanks a lot. Yes, I was trying to figure out, my mute button wasn't working.
Oh, okay.
There's a thanks a lot though, but yes, as I've been, as I've been a part of Civitan for a while now, and this is my first year as being president of the club though. And I myself, and I'm very passionate about this group because as a child, I was growing up with a person who stutters. So I know firsthand about how, with special needs and stuff. So I really do have a passion, but I know with COVID and with everything that's been going on now, there has been a decrease and just about everything. But I can't remember who was saying it, but getting more so whatchamacallit, exposure out there, because if people don't know that you exist, though, it's even harder for them to join or to even know that is done. Though, so this club is now over 100 years old, and up to a couple of years ago, it's only been in our city maybe a couple of years, and I never even knew that Civitan existed. So I mean, but I really think it's a great thing, and just really get more exposure. And as I've been seeing that we made some investments in our junior Civitans. In our junior Civitans, here this past month or two, there was a big push to help them get to the All-In Summit and to help them get to that stuff. So I think as if we did more investments, I'm in trying to get people to join junior Civitan or Civitan at a more earlier age, or just really teach them about what it means to be in a service club, to volunteer, to be a part of something bigger, to give back to the community, and so on and so forth. Though, because we've gone, I think in a lot of stuff, those, I mean, as a not to make that, not to paint that in a bad way, but a lot of our youth have a sense of entitlement per se, though, and they don't really know what it means to serve, and they're more just on social media, and they really don't have that aspect. And I know COVID's made it a lot harder, though, but I really think if we can somehow maybe invest more in junior Civitans and helping them transition as into a club, or helping them expand, though, I think that might be the bigger deal. They say that that brand new blood is the lifeblood of any organization. So I mean, just getting more, and so because if we don't change with the times, the times will just a change for us, and when we might not like the way that changes, because they may force us one way or the other, if we don't choose to change ourselves. And so I really like the fact that you guys are trying to be proactive, or just trying to learn how to do this Renew 22 thing, and just trying to maybe upgrade, or maybe just trying to find ways and to pivot and to start doing stuff in maybe a different way. As I know with COVID, all of us have been forced to do that a little bit more, and we've been forced to get out of our comfort zones, if we will, to learn new things, and to learn Zoom, and to learn doing other stuff, though. And so I think that's really pushed a lot of people out of their comfort zones, and I think that would really help. So I really think that this is a good thing. And I know in my own club, as we're trying to do stuff more proactively, as how can I serve the community more, and how can I serve the community differently? It may look different than what I'm used to, or what the club is used to doing, though, but I know a lot of our organizations, just as you mentioned, Scarlett, have gotten a decrease. I know Lions and Kiwanis here in the area and Rotary have all seen decreases, and some places have even closed there as well, though. And so I really welcome, and I'm really excited to be a part of a club that's not only trying to serve the special needs community, but is actually trying to learn different ways and trying to upgrade themselves into doing new things. And so I just wanted to share that with you.
Great. Thank you, Sam. Yes, that's a good point. It's just, we're going to have to, if we're going to survive, we need to, social media is out there, and we need to incorporate it with us to help us to grow our organization, because we can't continue to decrease as we have been, or we're going to go away. We have to be open to new things. Any other questions? You might look in the chat box. Marcia put something in there about the thing that Ann was talking about as far as working with the police. That Topeka has a program here, and And then Tony said that Bartlesville has one there too. And Tara also commented that Kansas City already has officers trained that way. So good. Appreciate that.
Did they pay for the training?
This is Marcia. I first got acquainted with this here in Topeka when Don, one of our leaders at TARC that I worked with, became trained as a police officer. And then she became very much aware of how much training was needed, the officers in working with and understanding persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So she was instrumental in actually starting that training program here for the officers in Topeka.
So it was free?
I don't know that for sure. I know she was one of the instructors, so I would guess so. It became part of the Topeka police officers training, but I can't honestly tell you if it was free or if there was a charge to it.
Tony, was yours free?
I'm not for sure. NAMI, which is National Alliance for the Mentally Ill, was involved, and that's how I got involved with it. And I was on the board and got to ask questions to the officers, and they got to ask questions to me. And see, I was the manager of Torrey Place, which housed the mentally ill. I was manager there for 15 years. And so it was greatly needed in Bartlesville because they didn't know how to handle, the police didn't, but it made a great difference in Bartlesville.
Scarlett put another slide up there. This is a sample that, again, we gave to the international board. Again, the finalization and the nuts and bolts of this, as after it's approved, is going to be the responsibility of the international board to come up with. But we suggested that the international director would have like a council that they would work with throughout the region. Somebody working on membership, somebody working with junior civitan, communications, and outreach to clubs and members. So it wouldn't, even though there'd be maybe a large geographical area for a region, that international director would have, would put together a council that could help them in working throughout the region.
Bill, where do the campus Civitan clubs fit into this?
Good question, and I don't know that I have a good answer.
Probably the membership piece, Bill.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they
And so this is Tara. So logistically, you said this would take effect in 2022, right?
yes.
And so how, I mean, if we're going to take the whole from Kansas west to California, which, you know, some of us know some of the people in those various locations, but probably not en masse. How does this start where you have a regional director? I mean, do they get appointed? Are you going to have an election?
Well,
And then
the region directors are elected.
on the international level?
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's the international board are the regional directors. And
For example, Tara, your international director right now is Marcia in this region. Okay,
Okay.
so this would carry over to the new structure, to whoever that elected director would be. They would be responsible if this is the model that is adopted. Then that director would be trained and educated as to what they needed to do, whether it be, for example, their duties, responsibilities, putting this council together. All of that would encompass their orientation and development.
Okay, so just let's think Kansas or Kansas all the way to the West Coast. How many current regions are in that geographic area? I get Marsh's in our region, but how
Okay.
many other regions are there?
Okay, you got, well, right now in our region is Heartland District in the Great Southwest. And then on west, you've got the Heart of the West in California, as far as districts.
Regions.
Well, but they're a region, but they are districts right now.
Okay, Scarlett says 2 regions, 4 districts. She just put
Yes.
a note up.
Right. Marcia is a regional director, and her districts are Heartland District
I
and
got you.
the Great Southwest District. And then you've got a regional director out west who has Heart of the West in California.
Okay. So how many total, and I know it's not set in stone, but how many regions are you anticipating then?
Probably 5, maybe 6.
And how many are there right now?
7.
Do you remember? It's not just furniture.
Well, the only, I mean, I get why this is happening. I just see to me, it seems like there's gonna be a lot less opportunities for people to take leadership roles. I don't know. I don't know the whole scheme of how this is gonna work, but I see it as, I mean, I get sometimes it's even hard to fill the leadership roles that we have, point taken, but I just, change is hard, and I don't know how this is going to go over at the international convention. I'll certainly be there to see how the big picture looks, but it's all just it's hard to wrap your hands or wrap your head around it.
Yeah.
Kara?
Yeah, change is difficult, but one thing is you've got at the district level, again, we've had trouble getting leadership, and you have maybe 2 or 3 people in the district who are serving more than one role. And when you've got all that district leadership, you're actually taking away from your club, because they're involved in the district, so maybe they're not being as active in their club as they should be. So yes, it's a big change, but again, we're only looking at this as far as change that will help us in the future.
And I'd like to point out something that Tara had talked about. So if you look at this sample chart, and again, it's a sample. So you've got your international director, and then you've got your outreach. If you've got 2,000 people in a region, there's going to be people that want to help build clubs. So that group would be in that group. Then you've got communications, getting PR, getting individuals. Your international director would be able to ask out of those 2,000. You're going to get more people involved, I say. Junior Civitan, that's a whole ball game in and of itself. And then there's membership. So I think leaders will step forward. I think we will have more of an opportunity for leadership if the regional director reaches out and does their job right, and again, they will be trained, and they maybe could come to Tara and say, Tara, what is your specialty? What do you like? What is it you want to see? Ask the questions. And then Tara says, oh, well, I like building clubs. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. Well, then that would be something you could draw on with the international director. So the international director is the one that's going to have to really focus on their region and focus on the leaders in that region. And if there's 2,000 people in a region, then there's a lot of people to pull from. And it doesn't have to be the same people all the time.
This is Dale. I had kind of getting back to what Harold asked. I know in our area here, and I know Diane Potts is on the call, we deal with with campus civitans a lot. So I almost think you need a separate bubble there, maybe above junior civitans for campus. I know you'd want to put juniors and campus together, but you definitely need to include campus civitan in there.
I agree.
That's scared off.
This is Grace.
Each one of them up close and personal.
Somebody needs to mute.
I'll show you kids, man.
I was just going to say, I agree with Patsy that I think this is going to give people more of an opportunity, and it's going to be able to, we're going to get to reach out further, and maybe people that we would normally know. I think it's going to, depending on, whether we have regional meetings or how we do this, we're going to get to know people more on a better basis than just at the international convention. So in a way, this could be a good thing for us.
Tony, can you mute everybody? We're getting some back feed.
Yeah, I can't find the button that says mute all.
Broken windshield, take one. Hey guys, my windshield just got broken. I feel like I need to blow off some steam. Let's go.
Try participant screen, Tony.
I think I just did it, Tony. I did a
Okay.
few of them. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Okay,
I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in on campus civitan. First of all, junior civitan is a large membership pocket. And so we know there's a lot there. Whereas campus civitan is not very many people. I feel like I've worked really hard to incorporate them in the community clubs and in the district. And so for them to be, they're adults. So for them to be considered kind of part of the transition for sure, but maybe not separate, maybe a component of. So as you're defining membership, I really have forever thought that seeing them as non-counting members of Civitan International, they don't really count in the membership numbers, is unfair and not accurate. So for them to be a part of the membership and a component, and us working to transition them to want to become part of our community clubs, I think that's the path. So that's my 2 cents in terms of what my vision has been in terms of trying to build towards them staying in Civitan.
that's a good point. I think they should be a part of the membership in some way. And so I think it's something that the international board is going to continue to have to look at. Any other questions, or Harold, do you think we ought to wrap this up?
Well, I think if there's no pressing questions, it would be a good time to wrap it up. As I said, we will get this put on recording, will be put on our website. So, and I'll try to get the word out again for more people to set in.
And like I say, there's going to be additional town halls that will be the next few weeks, next few months, as far as for district leadership and club presidents. So hopefully we can get the word out to as many people as we can.
Will we have regional websites? Will that take the place of our Heartland District website?
Probably not.
I would say that's to be determined, wouldn't you? If you've got a website for your district, we could make regional websites. I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, anything's possible is how I look at it.
Well,
You probably end up being a decision of the region director.
I'd just like to make a final statement. I think what we're trying to get across here is that we're shifting our focus down to the local clubs, because when Dr. Shropshire started Civitan, it was about clubs in the community. There weren't districts, there weren't regions. We have created that during our 103-year journey. And, we're seeing where we don't need that structure. We don't need all those levels in between the headquarters and the local club. We need to have someone in the middle as a representative on the board. And that's why the committee has done the work that they've done, trying to dive into what should that individual's responsibilities be. And you see where that model encompasses several of the areas, a number of the areas that would be important for them to have input and involvement in. So again, we feel very strongly that we need to dive down to the lowest levels, and that is club presidents and the members of the local clubs, because that's why we exist. We don't exist strictly because of a region or strictly because of a district. We exist as representatives of the local clubs. So local clubs should always be our focus. And so that's where we're driving. We're driving towards that end, is to where we reconnect with the local club and we revitalize them, and we give them the resources they need to be successful. And we've come up with a lot of great ideas and great concepts that we can bring to bear on helping that local club be the best that they can be. And as a result of them being the best that they can be, Civitan International will be the best that they can be. So that's where that's the way that I look at it, as your international president. It's the local club.
Well, as we, wind down here, if there are additional questions you think of tomorrow or next week or whatever, be sure to reach out to me or Patsy or Frank or Scarlett. We'll be glad to answer any questions, because again, we want everybody to come away with understanding what we're doing here before we go to convention in Jacksonville. Harold, I'll throw it back to you.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining. Sam had a question wanting to know if we could add PDF of the slides somewhere. I'm checking with Tony. I'm not certain whether the recording shows more than just our sound that you recorded, or whether it shows slides and the whole thing.
It should show the slides. I'm not, yeah, it should show them. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for joining and I
Okay.
appreciate your participation.
Thank you very much, everybody.
All right. Good night.
Thanks, have a great night.
Bye-bye.
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 All right, good night. Good night.
Just you and me, Tony. Or Randy still there.
Okay,
All right.
all right.
Thank you. Let me know if you have any problems sending that to David.
Okay,
All right.
all right, thanks.
Bye.